कौन नहीं चाहता कि उसका मेंटर एक यूपीएससी रैंकर हो। 2021 के फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में सिविल्स दिल्ली आईएएस के 200 से भी ज्यादा सिलेक्शंस हैं। गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू कनेक्ट यू 1-to-1 विद सिविल्स दिल्ली रैंकर्स फॉर फ्री। देयर इज अ लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, फिल इट एंड शेड्यूल अ सेशन। These ranker will prepare a timetable and a personalized plan for you. ये टॉपर्स आपको exactly वही बताएंगे कि कौन सी बुक फॉलो करनी है, कौन सा चैप्टर पढ़ना है. They will guide you in answer writing, mocks and accessing them. Don't miss this golden opportunity to get mentored by a ranker.
Hello everyone, this is Ramya Chandrasekharan. I have secured All India Rank 46 in the Civil Services Examination 2021, and in this particular video I like to share about how to prepare for the preliminary examination stage of civil services, what to do, what not to do, and what are the things you should focus. Why am I saying this? Because I have failed in the preliminary examination 5 times, and only in the very last attempt of mine I was able to clear the preliminary stage itself. So I could state all the what not to do in a preliminary examination from my own experiences, from my own mistakes, which I like others not to do, and which will ensure that you can clear the examination even before me, even in a very better position. So these are the things why I like to share about this particular approach with you. So the first mistake what I committed in my preliminary preparation was I had flooded myself with lots of resources, lots of books, lots of materials, lots of online videos. And I was preparing it on a quantitative basis. I was just reading one book, moving on to the next, moving on to the next. But I did not go back to the first book which I read and revise it. And this was a terrible mistake which I committed, because once you start revising your books, you become an expert in that particular book. You gather your content on a qualitative basis. So because of this, I say that you have to narrow your resources, you have to narrow your books, you have to narrow your online resources, and try to read the examination from a qualitative perspective rather than quantitative. And the second most important lesson which I learned is that we have to analyze the previous year question papers of civil services. Why is this important? Because that gives a confined area, confined list of topics which you have to focus and which you need to concentrate a bit more in order to gain a better score. So how do we do this analysis is that pick up the past 5-year question papers of civil services and categorize the questions, categorize it subject wise, categorize it on basis of polity, economy, environment, international relations, history, current affairs. So you just categorize all the questions, and in that particular category of question also, again you try to focus or try to categorize into different topic areas. For example, in polity, you have the question tend to get repeated from the fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSP chapter more often than any other chapter. So now you have a framework where the topics have been confined, where the number of questions seems to be confined, and now you will pick these areas and focus it again and again and revise it regularly. This ensures that these repeated areas are not the mistakes done. So you get a better score and you avoid silly mistakes in all these parts, and this will ensure that you get a very minimal base marks. And then next is that you have to take regularly the daily questions. So certain institutions do come up with their daily questions based on that particular day's current affairs, based on that particular static portion. For example, I did follow Insight's daily MCQs session. It's just a list of 5 questions which is being asked. You try to do the 5 questions, you end the quiz, you see the explanation and your score. So why do we need to do this practice? Because this gives your mind a template. You get used to doing the MCQs. And when you go and sit and write your preliminary examination, your mind should not feel that you're doing something new. So doing it on a regular fashion makes it a habit for the mind to view the MCQs, to pick the keywords, to pick some answers intuitively. So this is a process which has to be done daily, and you can do it. Many online free resources have been provided for this particular provision. And the next fourth important is that you should not be neglecting your CSAT paper, that is the general studies, you have general studies paper, you have CSAT paper. So this particular paper often gets neglected, or people tend to give very limited focus on this, because this is just a getting through into the examination kind of thing, qualifying in nature. So, but the CSAT more recently have become very difficult in nature, because the logical reasoning part, the chart-based questions are not concentrated much, and it's basically your aptitude and reading comprehension which gets concentrated. And for this, you need continuous practice. You have to do your mathematics on a regular fashion. You have to read RCs. So RCs basically you can get a hold when you start reading your editorial seriously. And once you start your editorial seriously, RC becomes a cakewalk. You'll be able to read the RC passage more quickly and try to figure out the answer in a better manner. So please don't neglect CSAT. And the next is that once you have done your base reading for the preliminary stage, you have covered all the basic books, all the covered standard books, and keeping abreast with the current affairs, you have to start taking a full-length preliminary mock test. So why do I suggest full-length mock test is that gives an insight to your strong area, that gives an insight to your weak area. So there are multiple subjects. So you can pick your strong subject area, and you can also focus on your weak area. Once this is done, you can check your accuracy level in every subject. For example, in polity, if there are 15 questions asked and you answer all the 15 questions correctly, so your accuracy level is 100%. So likewise, you have to see in which subject your accuracies are high, your accuracies are average, and try to do this for around 5 or 6 tests to come up with an average value of accuracy. Why this is required is that this gives an insight to you in the final day of preliminary examination, like how many questions to answer, which areas to focus, and which area to better avoid a negative marking. So this helps to come up with a strategy or approach to write a preliminary exam. And there are certain minute mistakes which people needs to avoid. One is that you are given 4 options in a preliminary question. And when people read the second option and try to see that matches with the question, they try to mark that as an answer, but then there are still third and fourth option available. Maybe the fourth option is more apt for the question. So you people in a rush to save the time just simply skip this particular reading practice. So instead of doing this mistake, read all the 4 options and pick the best apt one for the answer. And the next is that people do miss out words. So like not is asked in the question, incorrect answers is asked in the question. These are things which people often miss, and this becomes a silly mistake which people do, and I have done that also. So try to be careful, try to be vigilant and conscious about the question, and to avoid all these silly mistakes. And also next error which people do is that you are given an OMR which needs to be circled, and if you are not seeing the question number and marking a different answer, you tend up coming with a negative answer. So marking OMR is again a skill which needs to be practiced without any mistake. And the fourth issue is that people try to take blue pens for the examination when the exam clearly says that you have to take a black pen. And in that particular stressful environment, you try to borrow the pens from others, and that gets added to your psychological stress, and which might become baggage for not performing well in the examination. So do get prepared for the examination. Take the pens, take the admit cards, do visit the center. So these are things which might seem minute, but things better to be done and prepared for the examination. On the examination, what we have to do is that we should not get panicked while seeing the question paper. Because everyone knows just 25 to 30 questions. So not just the topper, every candidate, be it a veteran, the 6th timer, or be it the first time attender, everyone knows just 25 to 30 questions. The rest 60 questions is in your hands. It's based on your intuitive knowledge. It's based on your accumulated knowledge. It's based on the experience which you have gained from your mock test. It's based on certain logical reasoning. So, and these are the areas which mock tends to help us cope up with. which helps us to do the rest 60 questions and come up with a pretty good answering method for 90 questions at the least. So this is one area which we have to be aware that everyone knows just 25 to 30 questions. So be confident and calm in approaching the question.
कौन नहीं चाहता कि उसका मेंटर एक यूपीएससी रैंकर हो। 2021 के फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में सिविल्स दिल्ली आईएएस के 200 से भी ज्यादा सिलेक्शंस हैं। गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू कनेक्ट यू 1-to-1 विद सिविल्स दिल्ली रैंकर्स फॉर फ्री। देयर इज अ लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, फिल इट एंड schedule a session. These ranker will prepare a timetable and a personalized plan for you. ये टॉपर्स आपको exactly वही बताएंगे कि कौन सी बुक फॉलो करनी है, कौन सा चैप्टर पढ़ना है. They will guide you in answer writing, mocks and accessing them. Don't miss this golden opportunity to get mentored by a ranker.
So I stated so many points for the preliminary examination, but in addition to this, which is very important, which played a significant role for me in my 6th attempt, is my psychological well-being. Because when we started to prepare ourselves psychologically, we try to gain confidence, we try to gain calm and composed exposure towards the examination, and this is very essential for clearing the prelims. When you see a question, people try to answer the question, but when you are unable to do, you try to take the baggage to the next question. This is a mistake which we have to avoid. And similarly, when we read the first 10 questions and we are unable to answer even one of them, we say that our results are done. We are not going to crack the examination. So trying to set this negative impression in your mind will create a baggage which will pull you down in the examination process and will not give you scores. So these are the psychological things which we have to focus. And for this, meditation is one thing which I did for getting very calm approach towards the question. So even if it is not meditation, you can try doing your hobby, you can try relaxing, just speak with your family and friends. That also sometimes suits your nerves. And also finally, have a good night's sleep. A good night's sleep is the best medicine for all stressful conditions, and that is also essential to keep you aware and conscious and mindful during the preliminary examination. So these are the things which I think I had to share, and so approaching the prelims has to be done in a confident, calm, composed as well as in a positive manner. So doing all this will ensure that somehow we will be clearing the prelims and entering the main stage of examination. So try to incorporate these inputs into your preparation, and hopefully this was useful to you. Thank you for watching.